Hey folks, it's Frithgar here, how you doing? Welcome back to Farming Simulator 19 here in Erlengrat. So, yes, it makes absolute sense that John Deere are also busy working hard trying to figure out some decent way to make the electric tractors, and as soon as that battery bit is taken care of, the rest of it, they've already got the technology there. There are tractors like this one already in existence, and they work well. I don't know if this is a 100% accurate depiction of how these tractors work. If it is, I'm really impressed with it. I don't know about the charging time in that. We can ignore the charging time on the battery, but the actual power and performance of the tractor as an electric tractor compared to just a normal tractor, if this is any reflection on the real tractors, then the real tractors are impressive. There's no denying that. This is an impressive tractor for the game. So if we've got this in real life, I think it's absolutely fantastic. I think it's brilliant. I'd love to have one of these. I think it'd be amazing. So if this is a true reflection of these, then, you know, it is going to be something that it's going to start to change the industry quite considerably. And once, as people have said, once those batteries start to become available, once the battery technology hurdle has been sort of dealt with, because that's the thing that's holding it back right now, is battery storage technology. Once that has been dealt with, once that's been done and sorted out, then we're going to be looking at an industry that is going to have one of the most rapid transformations since the tractor started replacing the horse. And I don't think that is... I am not quoting anybody on that. I'm saying that myself. I don't think that's an exaggeration. From what I've been looking at with how much a lot of these companies are now looking to try and develop battery-powered tractors, when we went from horse-powered machinery to tractor-powered machinery, the entire agricultural industry in the UK and much of Europe, I cannot speak for the US, I don't know how rapid it was, I believe it was very similar to what we had here. The entire transformation took place in about a decade. And yes, obviously, there's, you know, there was a few that went early and there were a few that went late. But pretty much the mainstream transformation from horses to tractors, it took place in a decade. It was that fast. At the beginning of the Second World War, you had tractors already starting to make massive inroads into agriculture. The beginning of the 30s was when it really started to take off. By the mid 40s, keep in mind that the war did kind of have a bit of an impact, did affect it, but by the end of the war, most farms were running tractors, and so the bulk of it was done in a decade in the 30s. And then the 40s was where a lot of the rest of it picked up and tractors started turning up everywhere. And by 1950, it was just tractors everywhere. Yes, there were still horses. There absolutely were. But that's kind of how it went. I mean, I'm absolutely willing to accept that I could be a little bit wrong on those dates there. It could be more that the real transformation started to take place in the 20s. But from what I know and understand of the developments, the tractors that were turning up in the 20s were not that advanced, and take-up on them was still very slow. But in the 30s, that's when the real boom started to happen. And it was about a decade. In a decade, the tractor became the mainstay of agriculture. It was the backbone. In the 20s, sort of mid-20s, the backbone of agriculture was the horse. By the mid-30s, the backbone of agriculture was the iron horse. This one that I'm driving right here. Well, maybe not quite this one. It was more like that one that we've got parked up down there. That was the machine that changed the face of agriculture. And lots of different types. The grey Fergie was particularly well known. The technology on that one, with having the 3-point hitch on the back and little things like that, that was there were fleets of those everywhere. But it changed that rapidly. And I think the transition from standard tractor to electric tractor is actually going to be faster than that. I really do. I think when that technology hits and it is properly successful, this one that we're using right now, there are these tractors around. But this is a smallholder's tractor rather than a mainstream farm tractor, I think is the best way to describe this. If you've got a small holding, you just sort of a few acres, this is a viable alternative at the moment, but it's not kind of a mainstream thing. But once those tractors start getting to the point, once the batteries, it's all down to the battery technology. Once that technology gets to the right point, there is going to be a sweeping change. It's going to be even faster than transition from horses to tractors. And I don't. Get in the comments section. I want to know what you guys think of this, because I know a lot of you are heavily involved in agriculture. A lot of you know a lot more about this subject than I do. I'm just kind of speculating here. Do you think that this is an accurate kind of guess that I'm putting in here? Do you think that it's going to be that rapid a transition once that technology is there? Do you think that electric tractors are going to replace diesel tractors as quickly as that, or do you think it's going to be a slower and more drawn out process? How do you see it working? I mean, I think there's going to be two factors in this. One is going to be the cost of the battery production. Obviously, that is going to have a major impact on it. But the other one is going to be the ongoing cost of diesel. We know that the price of diesel is going up. Oil is becoming more scarce. And yes, the planet in general is wanting to move away from fossil fuel consumption. But that bit aside, diesel in general is starting to become more expensive. There are now biodiesels available that we can use, and those are options, but they're expensive. They're not cheap to produce, they're not easy to produce. So this whole battery thing, is it going to be, like, how much is it going to be the cost and maintenance of the tractors themselves that drive this transition, and how much is it going to be the cost of fuel that drives this transition? Yes, you are going to definitely have people who will make the switch purely based on environmental concerns, and I'm not trying to take anything away from those, but generally people don't make a serious business decision such as switching from one type of tractor to another based purely on, I don't want to burn quite as much fossil fuels if I can help it. In an ideal world, such noble thoughts and pursuits, yep, that would be great, but that just doesn't happen. We know this, we need to just, that's just something that we accept and we deal with. So why are people going to make this change? Why are they going to make it? And I personally think that the reason that the change will be made is because the cost of diesel is growing, and the cost of diesel is going to become too expensive. And then you get an electric tractor. Yes, you've got to pay for power. You've got to be able to power the things. One alternative is, rather than plugging into a mains grid, is you're generating your own power via solar panels or wind turbines. Wind turbines, I think, are probably the better option for something like this, because with solar panels, you've got a lot more to do with, storing the power in order to be able to make it work. But, I mean, you have to with wind turbines as well. But maybe on-farm wind turbines are something that will become a lot more common, because then they will generate the power needed to charge the tractors. Maybe the solution is interchangeable batteries on tractors. I could see that coming in pretty quickly. If there's an easy way to change the batteries over on the tractors, so that one tractor is then hooked up to your wind turbine, and one battery's, did I say tractor? If I did, I shouldn't have done. One battery is hooked up to the wind turbine and is charging. The other battery is being used by the tractor, and then you swap them over in the morning. And so you have two batteries for each tractor. That's quite possibly, somehow it might work, because then you haven't got to have large extra battery storage in order to store the power coming off of your wind turbine that you've installed in order to charge your tractors. How much of a difference is it going to make, though? What is the power consumption going to be? What is the... And power consumption itself isn't really much of an issue. It's the cost of it. How does the cost of getting the wind turbine and the power and so on installed compare to the cost of the diesel that the tractor needs in order to run on for a traditional tractor? I would say that eventually there will come a point where, yes, you've got a higher outlay for your charging station for your tractor, but once that's in, then it sort of becomes a no-brainer after that. Like, the amount of money that you're going to be forking out in order to get the tractor to be charged up is going to be a massive percentage less than the amount of money that you're paying out in order to put fuel into the tractor. There's going to be a huge, huge difference in the price on that. Right, I will whiz this one all the way back up round. I find I am quite looking forward to hearing your views and responses to what I've been rabbiting on about for the last 15 or 20 minutes with electric power. I already seen your comments before about how John Deere are really working on it, and some of you think that like the small tractors are really, really good. Bigger tractors, like I've relayed what you said about that, how it's not really viable at the moment. But it's not down to the fact that the electric tractors themselves don't work. And this is a bit that I found quite interesting. It's not down to that at all. That's already been shown and proved, especially with the machines that work in the quarries. The electric itself is not the issue. And if it's getting the supply of power to the tractor. And that's the bit that everybody is scrambling to work on. Because the first company that gets this right, like... the whole thing with John Deere working on it is a few people said that John Deere are working on it. I'm assuming, therefore, that several other companies are also working on it. And the big mad scramble at the moment is developing that battery technology. Because that's going to be the key. The company that gets that right first, and they are going to be... This is not going to be open session. This is not going to be sharing secrets. Like, I help you with my homework, you help me with yours. Something along those lines. You help me with my homework, and I'll help you with yours, I meant to say. Anyway, it's not going to be like that. This will be top secret. This will be non-disclosure agreements all the way round. This will be heavily lawyered up with every single bit of it, because the agricultural tractor producing company that gets the technology right for the batteries is the one that is going to be king for the next 30 years. Whichever one it is, they are the ones that are going to be king of agriculture for at least 30 years. Because they're the ones that are going to have that tech. The other companies will get it. They will take those batteries and how they've done it, and they will reverse engineer it, but they will be on the back foot. You can reverse engineer, and then they've got to change the technology enough that they're not infringing on the patents and copyrights and everything else that the company that wins the race is absolutely going to be slapping all over this thing. Right, there is going to be a lot of jealously guarded secrets on this. It is a fight to the death, quite literally. I don't mean, like, you know, blood and gore and everything. I mean that these companies, the one that gets there first, their company is secure. But the one that doesn't get there first, if they are not able to reverse engineer the battery and then use it with whatever they've managed to develop themselves, in order to get their own patents out there so that they've got versions of it going out, their companies are going under. I cannot see that it's going to end any other way. So this could go anyway. At the moment, you've got the big powerhouses like John Deere, you've got Valtra, you've got Agco, which are now Massey Ferguson, I think Case as well, aren't they? And a few others. And so you've got these big brand names. And they will all, if one of them is, they all are frantically trying to get this right. And the one that gets there is going to be the king. Now, in lots of places, John Deere are already king. In other places, there are other companies that are king, but they aren't far off. John Deere is kind of the big one in a lot of places, and there's reasons for that. And yes, there are plenty of people that don't like John Deere, but John Deere have their reputation. They have developed a lot of technologies, and they've done it well. If they get there first, John Deere will be undisputed king of agricultural vehicles for quite some time. If they don't, if one of the other companies gets there first, if, say, Claas start producing a battery-powered tractor that is a viable and working machine that does well, John Deere are going to lose that crown. They are going to come off of the top, and they are going to start... they're going to be on the back foot behind Claas or Valtra or Agco or whoever it is that does it. I don't know if Claas are Agco or if Claas are... I think Claas are their own separate one. Massey are part of Agco. Deutz, I think, are part of Agco. I'm not quite sure, but you see where I'm coming from with this, right? This is a big battle between the giants, and it's going to be very, very interesting to see how this plays out. And I don't think that this is, at this point, I do not believe that this is a case of if they find the battery technology that they so desperately need in order to make all of this work. I think this is when they find the right, they develop the right technology in order to make these batteries work. It is just a when rather than an if. And the one that gets it right, I mean, we could end up with two of them coming together. Now, we had that. We've seen that in different technologies. You had Blu-ray and you had the other one that wasn't Blu-ray, it was something else. Blu-ray won the battle. Like, you had the two different HD discs. You had a long time ago... This was even before, well, this was about, I think this was actually before I was born. I think this was in the late 70s. I was born in 1981, 40 years ago now. But you had the Betamax cassette, and you had the other cassette tapes as well. And the Betamax didn't win. The other cassette tapes won. And so you had those, and that was before CDs. I know some of you youngsters don't even know what a cassette tape is. That was before CDs. That's what they listened to. You had records, and then you had cassette tapes. And records are still here. Records are never going anywhere. There's always going to be people that like records. But you had cassette tapes, and then you had CDs. And CDs were just kind of CDs. You had the compact discs, and there wasn't really a big competition with those. Then you had Blu-ray and... Was it the I can't remember the name of the other one, Eva. I don't even remember the name of it. There was another tech that was being developed at the same time as Blu-ray, and Blu-ray won easily on that one. That was the Sony version of it, and then everybody had a Blu-ray player. But the Betamax, that was like one type of cassette, and then you had another type of cassette as well, and it was the other one that won. The Betamax didn't win the competition in the end, and all of the record companies... the music industry, they embraced the cassette tape instead, and that's what everybody started using. So you do still find some of the Betamax stuff around, same as you find cassette tapes around, but the Betamax... this is where someone's going to tell me it's not actually Betamax, it's something slightly different. I think it's that. But I could easily be wrong. I am with so many things. It's only 29% compacted in here. Right. I am wrong with so many things. I could easily be wrong with this as well. But you get the idea. You get the idea here. That is kind of the kind of competitions that have taken place in the past with some of these things. There's been a lot of stiff competition for all kinds of different things. And now we've got the agricultural industry. And these batteries and electric-powered tractors... I sincerely believe that that is the battle for supremacy for the early 21st century for agricultural companies the world over. Whichever ones get it right with battery technology first, they are going to come out on top. There's going to be other companies, and they are going to be able to do things, but at least for the next 20 or 30 years, the one that gets there first, they're going to be the ones that do it right. If you get two of them that come together, it'll be whichever technology. It's not necessarily whichever one works best. It's the one that is marketed the best. If you've got one that works a lot better than the other one, then that one will come out on top. If they are fairly similar, like that there are some complications, but generally speaking, one is about as easy to use as the other one, it'll be how well they're marketed. And if John Deere is one of the first ones, I'd actually have my money on John Deere. John Deere are very good at their marketing. They are very, very good at that. They know how to get that right, and they will get that right. You can be absolutely certain that they will do what it takes to make it work. Watch his space. I think it's going to be very interesting. I'm also really looking forward to hearing all of your comments. Get into the comment section, please. I want to hear your views and comments on this. What do you think? What are your opinions on the future of electric-powered tractors, the batteries? Do you think that this is going to be a massively rapid transition? Is it going to change the face of agriculture in a matter of just a few short years? Do you think it's going to be a very, very slow uptake on this kind of thing? What do you think? How do you sort of picture this taking place? I'm really keen to hear what you have to say on this. Well, this tractor is doing an absolutely wonderful job. We're going to leave it going now. I'm going to just hold off picking up any grass just for a second. I'm going to let the hired help carry on with this one for a bit. And what we're going to do is we're going to jump into here. We've got weeds on field 20. There may be a job for that. There is not a job for that. Okay, fine. We're going to go. I'm not going to do fertilizing on field 14 at the moment, although that will give us 8,000 euros. I'm going to do the field 17 one for 4,000 euros. I'm going to borrow the items for that job. Right there. And we're going to go and we're going to get those items. So I've got that just here. I've got a little bit of fertilizer in one bag just over there, which I'm going to get, and we're going to put a bit extra into this machine as well. I've got nothing on the back of the pickup apart from that herbicide that's on there. So I'm not going to bother doing anything with that one. I'm just going to leave that one right there for a minute. There's not a lot that we can do with it until we get more herbicide jobs. So I'm going to take you, and I'm going to buy 2 pallets of fertilizer. I probably only need 1, to be honest, but I'm going to buy 2, and then I'm going to put this fertilizer somewhere once I have finished, because I've got the money right now to be able to buy 2 of them. So I'll get the 2, plus I'll get the little bit that's over there as well, and then we can run down to field 17 and go and spread this. And then field 14, we'll take that one a little bit later. I'm not going to take that one yet, because I can't do it with this machine. This machine is owned by the farmer, and we're not allowed to do that. So we've either got to go and take our own machine, or we've got to lease the other one, and then we've got to get some liquid fertilizer as well. Don't really want to buy liquid fertilizer as well as buying this. We've got a fertilizer spreader of our own, so we might as well use that, but I also don't want to be driving all the way across the map with just this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this down to field 17. I'm going to start spreading on that one. And then when this job is done, we will unload this fertilizer on the end of field 14. And then one of our tractors, either the little one or the electric one, will end up coming back over this way. I'm going to take it down here. I know that it's field 16 directly ahead of us, but we can go round that one. Yeah, we'll have the fertilizer down there, and we will then, we'll be able to load up at the end of the field without too much trouble, and this field 14 can then be spread. And I'm hoping that this 2.5 tons of fertilizer that we've got right now is going to be enough to do both of the fields. Possibly not, but I do at least have some. I've got a spreader load as well back at the yard, so I can bring that spreader load down this way. That's just like the first bit that we'll use. This field down here has actually got quite a bit of crop in it. Fortunately, we don't have to worry about things like crop destruction because the wheels on the back of this spreader are quite big. And I'm just going to go in there like that and start spreading. Right, help if I didn't just park the machine up in the middle of the field and stop. Really want to do that. So this is, I think, we'll end up... We'll definitely use up a whole bag full. Whether we use the bag and the little bit, I'm not sure. So I think that I am going to end up having to get another bag of fertilizer after this to be able to finish field 14. And that was the outside edge of the map that I just ran into there. Which is the first time we've ever actually done that. I try to avoid running into the outside edge of the map because sometimes it can make you crash. And I don't mean like crash. I mean it can like I have had it crash a game occasionally if I've run into the outside edge of a map, which is, as I'm sure you can appreciate, a little bit of an inconvenience when I'm trying to record it, because usually my recording software, D3D Gear, does do just fine when that happens. Very occasionally, though, it doesn't do fine. Very occasionally, my recording software doesn't actually save the crash. It doesn't save the video. They have, like, the developers have done quite a bit to save your video file if the game crashes. It used to be a much bigger issue than it is now. Very, very occasionally it doesn't work. And so you lose the video file as well, which is even worse. So you really don't want the game crashing. That is a real jolly nuisance. So yeah, I've driven into the edges of the wall, like edges of the map before, and for some strange reason it's caused a complete game crash, which is weird because I'm not quite sure how it would cause it to happen, but it has done, and so I'm always a little bit wary and cautious about such things happening. I'm very careful about that. Okay, I've got enough here, I think, that I can carry on now with our other machine. So you are gonna do just fine. I'm gonna leave you there, and I'm gonna have this one, and we're going to head off. I've got to make sure that we roll down that clamp sufficiently. We're gonna have to get something to push that clamp up a little bit, I think. As we start to roll it out, it's gonna be pushing out towards the front, and we're gonna need to do something to stop it going out too far. So we go whizzing off down this way. Ignore that tractor working over there just for a minute. What is he doing? Right, we should be able to get ourselves a full load now, working up beside this one, but we go faster than him. He does 18k. And he's also got to do 2 runs for our every one run. I mean, yes, going uphill just here, we're going a bit slower than him. But we're able to do 20k, and he's only able to do 18. So overall, that one is technically faster than we are. So I'm just going to go down there and get that little tiny bit down there. And then we can run over this side. So he goes a little bit slower, and he has to do 2 passes to make 1 row for us. So unfortunately, folks, that is all we have got time for today. A massive thank you to everybody who has earned their way into the Great Book of Names. To find out some more details about all the names coming past, please head into the description and click on the link to the Discord. It's a link to another video. The link is on the other video. Please also consider checking out the links there for Nitrado, who provide gaming servers for games like Farming Simulator, Minecraft, Ark, and several others. And there's also Fanatical, who will help support your gaming habit by providing you with cheap games and also giving me a small commission on anything that you buy using my link. If you've enjoyed this particular video, then please head down below and give us a like. And if you really enjoyed it, then please tell your friends all about me. Get them to come and watch as well. That would be awesome. And until next time, thank you very much for watching. This is Frithgar. Goodbye, and see you later.